Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 17 of Learning Outside the Lines with Kyle and Glenn, or Glenn and Kyle. It doesn't matter. Glenn, how
Yeah,
are you?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How are you?
Good, good. You know, the weather continues to be really nice. I've said that like in every episode for the last three or four, but like I can't. It helps. Like,
Yeah, I need to knock on wood because it's freakishly good. I mean, I've lived in Georgia my whole life, and I don't remember I don't even want to say the words, but this is an incredibly good spring. Let me just put it that way, so I don't jinx the whole state of Georgia.
unless you have horrible allergies, in that case,
Yeah, good
spring is
luck.
always the worst, no matter what the weather looks like, and
Yeah,
I respect that.
yeah, totally.
Well, hey, you got a guest for us today. You want to preview that?
We do. We've got Shervett Miller-Payton from Griffin-Spalding Schools. She's a curriculum coordinator, and she's agreed to come on and talk with us. I actually met Shervette at we met via Twitter, but we met at GCTE when we presented together on podcasting. So that's our guest for today. Just a little bit of a sneak preview there. But before we get started, what's some good news for us?
Yeah, so I will. I'll share my screen real quick. So this is adorable. I've actually changed this a couple of times in terms of what I was going to show, but this is neat. So my wife recently has gotten really excited about the idea of creating more of a play space in the backyard for our daughter, and so this is her latest piece. Like, she just sent this to me before we went live to record this, and she's got these little stepping stone path that she's created. And there's going to be like a little playhouse that it's going to lead to right there in that area that you're seeing on the screen. So she's recently been really reinvigorated by, kind of creating these spaces for the family and for our daughter. And I thought that would be kind of fun to share and show everybody. It's just adorable, right? Like, I'm sitting up here making a web episode, and she's out there actually doing something for the family. So whatever.
I know that's really cool. It's really cool. I've got kind of a story to tell. I didn't take any pictures just because there's a lot of privacy stuff with students on Zoom, but I had a really cool experience yesterday with one of my office hours. I had two students come by, one of which is no longer enrolled in public schools. He's going to try to figure that out. But he came by as a surprise guest along with another student, but neither one of which I've seen in weeks and weeks and weeks. And I was able to spend about 15 minutes kind of getting the one student of mine back on track, and then we spent 45 minutes sitting in Zoom singing to Weezer and a couple other songs like that. One of the students was just jamming on guitar, so it was kind of like a little bit of a jam session. It was just super normal. Like, that's the kind of thing that would go on in my classroom during lunch. I just have random students come by, and they would just sit in my classroom, and we would just do stuff like that. And I think that's really what I miss the most. Like, it's
that's something I've always kind of admired about you. You always had a safe place for kids, and I tried to create that type of space in my classroom. But my classroom was I'll put it this way: my classroom was never close to where lunch is, so that never helped my case. Yeah. But I didn't really have the classroom that kids wanted to be like to sit in to eat their lunch, which was fine. Like, I don't think that's an admonishment to me as a teacher.
Yeah, no, not at all.
That was just not the space that my classroom became. And so there's part of me that's always jealous of you or other teachers who create that space where that's where students want to be.
It's so funny because it kind of happened by accident. And it's not always, it's never the students that are like doing super well in class. It's never the students that I have like the best conversations with during class time. It's almost like I get to interact with them, not as students, but as people during that time. And it's a really cool feeling because I get to see almost like, I mean, like, for me personally, I wasn't ready to be a student when I had to go to high school. I was a person, but like, we never really sometimes we don't interact with kids as people. And so we miss the whole being of that person because we're so focused on something they're not ready for yet. Like, even just being a student.
I think you just found your dissertation topic when you decide you want to pursue that doctorate, by the way.
Okay, right. Well, I don't have it, so you're gonna have to tell me later because that's like it's gone now. All right.
So, all right. Well, we typically also have our digital teaching hack, and I think you have something for us today, right?
Yeah, I do. Canva is one of my favorite all-time tools for just designing different resources. It's just canva.com. And I got like kind of aware of this almost by accident. I was looking for something that I could create worksheets on or handouts and stuff. And while it can be used for that, like I've made some pretty decent handouts with it. Like this is something I made, and it's good for like open responses and stuff like that. But it's sometimes a little clunky if you're trying to design like a traditional worksheet. But what it can do really well is make banners and make almost designs for your resources that you already have. Like this is and it can also do Google Slides. It makes amazing stuff. Like this is something I made for a research speech project, and
Pretty cool.
It makes really, really beautiful resources, and it's really easy to use. I actually have the paid subscription, and like here's another one that it just totally pops. But if you're having open responses and you're having students kind of track their thinking in different ways, this is a great tool. This would be great for science, for math, for different concepts where they're kind of organizing their thoughts. Making organizers. Let me just put that into simple English there.
This reminds me, not to go too off on a tangent on it, but I had a recent conversation with some teachers that I work with, and I support some of the work that they're doing for our office to get back out to teachers in their field. And they were specifically talking like, hey, kid, like in their plan, it's like kids will use the worksheet. And I was like, all right, we got to stop using that term. Like, it's a graphic organizer, right? Like words matter. So
words do matter.
Like, let's get away from the term worksheet altogether. Because they're graphic organizers is what they are when they're well designed anyway.
It's
thought, right?
Exactly. And it's a question of, are they filling in blanks for a completion, or are they actually doing thinking work in their brain and then using this tool to kind of make sense of it? And so words matter a lot. One of the last thing I want to show you is you can use it to make anchor charts and posters as well. This is one of my favorite things about it. This is a project that I actually did for an extended period of time, and you can actually print it. If you actually use this tool to print through, I think it took me maybe 5 business days to get in the mail, and it cost $6 for like a 3x5 poster of whatever I ordered on professional paper, super glossy, super nice. And the quality was so worth it. The turnaround was super fast. And so if you're designing anchor charts, you're designing things that you want to put up in your classroom, even memes, creating memes for your classroom, Canva can do a lot of that heavy lifting for you.
Yeah. Yep. I've used it before myself. I agree. Real valuable.
It's good
so
stuff.
We are at the point in the show where we get a chance to bring on a guest. We call it What's the Good Word?
Yes, what's the good word? So like I said, our guest today is Shervett Miller-Payton from Griffin-Spalding County Schools. And let me go ahead and bring them on. Hey, Shervette.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. I love this show. It's cool.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you're a fan. When I met you at GCTE, it was just super cool. Like, there's not a lot of
we've known each other. It's just ridiculous how as soon as I saw you, I was like, this is my boy. I love it.
It's cool. It's cool. I mean, we had a really great presentation. Like I said, we had never met before face to face. So you are out in Griffin-Spalding schools.
Spalding.
Yeah. And Spalding, sorry. Do you do it says that you're a podcast addict. Have you been able to keep up with your podcasting or even just listening to podcasts now that we've been stuck at home so much?
Absolutely. So podcasting, really within the past 2 years, I've really gotten back into it because I have this long drive from Gwinnett to Spalding County.
Yeah.
About 50 miles. And so each way. And so I've just, instead of listening to the radio, I listen to podcasts. So I've gotten my daughter, who's in the 3rd grade, really interested in podcasting. And so we listen to a podcast almost every night, and then she's created one as well. And so I'm hesitating as to how I should publicize it because she's in the 3rd grade. So, I don't want to make it public.
Yeah,
but,
we're careful not to use like our daughter's names and stuff. Like we'll refer to our daughter, we'll refer to our family, but we're the same way. We want to protect our people.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
I have heard it though, and she's incredible. Like incredible.
Yes, I think she's over here right now. If you want to just put your face in, she's say hello.
Oh my god,
that's great.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's awesome. So you said you've just been able to keep up with it all?
Oh yeah, I mean, so I wanted when you said something about podcasts, I wanted to share a podcast that she loves for those of you who have elementary age kids.
Yeah.
In middle school, there's a company called Gen Z Media. Are you guys familiar with their podcast?
No.
Can I share my
Please.
screen?
6 minutes and Remy's life interrupted.
Okay, thank you. Okay, bye-bye. So let me show you.
Please.
It's called Gen Z Media. Hold on. And now I can't, it's hard for me to bring it over because it's hidden by this thing. Hold on 1 second. Let me see if I can bring this down. Hold on, you guys.
No problem.
So it's called, the website is bestrobotever.com. And, but the name of the company is Gen Z Media, and they have several different podcasts. Their first one was called Mars Patel, The Unexplainable Disappearance of Mars Patel.
And Becoming Mother Nature.
And my daughter's trying to tell you about Becoming Mother Nature, yes. But they're all really, really good. She started listening to them in the 2nd grade. And the one that we're
6 minutes.
Yes, so the one that so this is becoming a dual interview.
I love it.
You ask for one, you get 2.
Oh, it's good. It's good.
But the one we're listening to now is a version of 6 minutes, but it's called Remy's Life Interrupted. So it's just 5 minutes of this girl giving us a story as she's in quarantine. And they've had 22 episodes so far, but it's every night. And it's just really cool. So those of you out there who are interested in kid podcasts, check out
3 minutes.
Yep, one of them is 3 minutes. Yes, thank you.
This is so
Right, the best
cool.
robot ever.
All 5 minutes.
Okay, Kayla, baby, go. So, yeah. So anyway, I just love that company. I don't get paid for giving them a commercial. I just love. I mean, it's very entertaining and they're really short. And I know some teachers have been doing them in class because they're either 5 minutes or 3 minutes or 6 minutes, but always less than 10 minutes. And they're like little TV shows, and they're really cool. So.
No, I love that. I think that that's an incredible resource, but I love the fact that you're kind of using it to connect with your daughter and kind of do some of that work, not work, but just growing together through that lens. That's really cool. And that kind of,
I'm gonna steal it.
Oh, go for it.
No, I'm gonna do that, man. Well, hey, so one of the things that I'm going to bring up, just because we talked about it kind of before we started, recording the show, is you're in an interesting support position like I am, and your job has changed ever since we've gone into shelter in place. So could you kind of give us a preview of like what it has been like to suddenly not be able to enter a classroom and not be able to directly coach a teacher?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm a curriculum coordinator for literacy in my district for about 18 or 19 schools. And generally my day-to-day, half of my time is supposed to be in a school building, planning lessons with teachers, coaching teachers, observing teachers and giving them feedback. And so, that isn't easily done online. So although teachers, of course, are still planning lessons and they're still teaching, it's kind of like, what do I do? So, I'm still creating unit plans and revising things for the curriculum for next year and testing. But it's just not as busy, as it was, which some people are saying that that's okay. This is a time to relax, but I'm so accustomed and I get so energized by the kids and the teachers and just being in that work. I mean, it's the work that I love to do. So it's not disappointing. I won't say anything negative about this time. We're going to make use of it with whatever we have. But it's people, I don't know if people outside of education really understand how much energy we get from kids and
right?
from, just it's not replicable online. I know online programs are popular in university and even in the K-12 world, but there's just nothing that can beat, sitting next to a kid and helping them get it.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, I miss that. So, most of my days have been just trying to get the pulse of what's going on. And when the quarantine first happened, it was really just this mad rush, right? Where everybody's just trying to figure out what to do. And so because I know a little bit about technology, a lot of teachers kind of said, okay, what tools can I use? So I did a lot in the beginning, trying to point them in the direction of some tools. And now it's just kind of like, what do we do? We're thinking forward to the next year and the possibilities and barriers that may occur. So.
Yeah.
My co-interviewer is just, I'm trying to shoo her away, you guys, but it's just not happening. She's like, yeah, she likes to talk.
I love that. She's bringing up the fact that we're not held to these traditional, testing requirements, or we don't have to worry about testing as much, or even maybe sometimes grading as much. So, like, what have you seen teachers kind of do in response to that? Like, were you seeing your teachers kind of stretch themselves more and try different things maybe they wouldn't have before?
I think it's interesting because I've heard teachers say, I wish we didn't have tests, and I wish we weren't so grade driven, and now we don't have tests. And, grades aren't as important, because a lot of districts have said, the grades can't be drastically different from when the quarantine began. And it's interesting just to see how people respond to what they said they wanted.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just the initial shock of it, because some people are kind of like, well, what do I teach now? There's no test to prepare for. And I'm like, they still need to know how to read, So I think it's just interesting. I think we're still in the adjustment mode, and we'll probably get more comfortable if this continues through the fall semester. But, we'll see how the milestones change and if they change next year in some way.
Yeah, it is interesting because I think, like, whenever we're faced with a crisis, we fall back on, like, whatever it is that we've always done. And I think I see kind of the same too, with a little bit of a disparity between, like, what we've said we wanted and then what we actually know how to do. And I think that we don't really know how to operate in this new landscape as well as maybe we thought we did, or maybe we hoped we would. But it is, teachers don't really know how to live without tests. So it might be something that we've always wanted, but we don't really know what to do. And
and there's some fight or flight stuff going on here, right?
Yes,
I mean, it's
exactly.
that other situation of you do have some teachers that I think are like, oh yeah, game
It's
on,
on.
let's do this.
Yeah.
And then you have the others that are like, bye, right? I mean, you know, it's and either response is okay because it is a crisis. It's a very real reality. Everybody's living in education right now.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting to see if the same circumstance happened where this wasn't born out of crisis, but just one day the state said, you know what, no more state tests.
Right.
That might be a different situation in terms of how teachers react. But, you know, I don't know that we'll ever know that.
Here in Georgia, those of you who are listening from outside of Georgia, I mean, we were in the middle before the quarantine of the legislative body saying,
rolling it back.
We're reducing tests. So, you know, it'll be interesting. I just want to make sure that we're still interested in the love of learning. I know that's a cliche, but especially in ELA and English, you know, reading. But when we learned that we were going into quarantine and we weren't going to have school, you know, when people were trying to rush to figure out what to do, my thing was pile them up with books. Like, give them every book in your classroom library and in your library, give them a couple of sort of general questions and just have them read. Like, that is the thing that has to be constant, no matter what.
So that kind of helps answer the question we know we wanted to ask you. So when it comes to like reading and literacy, what advice are you giving, not just to a teacher, but even a parent who's trying to support, you know, their child's love of learning and continuing to drive that forward in this time?
Yeah.
What kind of advice would you give either one of those groups?
You know, it really, and I'm biased because I'm an English teacher, but reading is really the basis of it all. I mean, if you do nothing else, I've had friends and colleagues who are like, I'm done with this school thing. It's too frustrating. You know, parenting and homeschooling is just not mixing. And I'm like, the one thing you cannot let go is a book. You know, like just throw in something that they can read. If it's something online that's news or it's something that I brought podcasting. That is still a form. My daughter's showing you some of the books that. Okay, Helen, hold on.
Yeah. No, I
look at this. I just keep piling them on.
Yeah, those look awesome.
Yeah, so we read every day, and luckily she likes reading. So parents of students who
books
don't.
That are of interest.
Yes, she loves reading books that are of interest, and so. Parents of children who don't like reading, they may say, well, that's easy for you to say, you know, you have a kid who likes reading, but start with something small, start with something fun. You know, graphic novels are all the rage now. With the libraries being closed, I know that's harder to get access to books. But Georgia has made Myon.com accessible for free. If you're outside of Georgia, Scribd.com. I don't know if you guys know.
Yep.
SCRIBD. They have some children's books on there, but you know, there are lots of options. Mm-hmm. You know, the free podcast, but you know, really
Audible has hundreds of thousands of titles. There's a lot. And I mean, regardless of the content area.
Yeah, you know, for parents too, and I don't mean to say this to sound critical, but you know, if you have a child that's a reluctant reader, do they see you read? You know, do you get a chance to model that for your kids? And you know, I think that's a big part of it too when we talk about as parents what we do for our students, that our kids, to set them up for that literacy adventure as well. So.
And reading is that one thing, like you said, that you like. I can't sit down and do an algebra problem with my, you know what I mean? Like, it's not some random algebra problem I can find that I can do with my kid, but I can find a book to read. Yeah. So this is what I'm reading right now while she's reading.
I already
her
read the
book.
book.
So she already read Refugee.
I already read this.
Okay.
I already read this.
You guys, I'm sorry.
I love this. This is great. This is great. I love it.
This is the saddest book in history.
Yeah, this.
Oh yeah. No, you tweeted out about that. I actually wanted to bring that up.
It's called, and I actually learned about it from an administrator in your county, but it's a book of poems in Spanish and English. My child is learning Spanish, and so it's really sad, but it's good for adults to read because it helps people understand how it feels to be a new student learning a new language. It's cool. So it's an older book, but it's a good book.
Dummy.
Yeah, call him dumb because he doesn't know.
Well, we're probably up against it a little bit in time. But before we do the outro, is there anything else that you think just is good for people to know about? Like, hey, here's a resource, here's a thought, here's an idea. What more good can we put into the universe?
Yeah, so I tweet out on my Twitter. Shervett Miller is my Twitter, and if you follow the hashtag KidLit, it gives you a lot of book suggestions that you might want to pick up for your students during this.
Very cool. Very cool.
Well, we always ask the guests to stick around for us. We do a little outro piece, and it varies. It's all over the place.
Yes.
Glenn, I don't know if you clicked on the link to see what this is or not, but the cast of Critical Role, which is a group of voice actors who get together to play Dungeons & Dragons, and they post it on, they do it on Twitch and then YouTube. Yeah, major uber nerds. But because they're not really doing their normal get-together to do the games and stuff, they've found other ways to interact with their audience. And so one of the things they put out, and I think this is interesting because I could see teachers doing this, they created a thing called Narrative Telephone, which I'll go ahead and kind of share this. We're just going to look at a little bit of it. We obviously don't have 30 minutes to listen to the whole thing, but check this out.
It's not sharing the audio.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Hold on, let me.
No problem.
Here. Yeah. It's good. No problem. Here we go. Let's try that again.
Hello, everyone. During these weird times, the cast of Critical Role has decided to entertain themselves, and hopefully you in the process, by playing a game that we are now referring to as Narrative Telephone. Yeah, you remember that game Telephone that we used to play as kids? It's that, but with a CR twist. Here's how it's going to work. Dungeon Master Matt Mercer will record himself telling a short story. He will then take that video and send it off to the next person who is only allowed to watch it once. We have producer Max as witness ensuring this fact. That person must then record themselves recounting the story to the best of their memory. They will then take their version and send it off to the next cast member who will repeat the process, and so on and so forth. The final recounting is sure to be quite a cluster. So, without further ado, let us tell you a story.
Just to see a little bit of how people...
'Twas chilled that foggy morning as Enchanter Pumat wandered the wood in search of fine mushrooms to flavor his food. He plucked a fine fungus when a guttural growl caught his ears, a feral wolf stalking from the shadows. To his surprise, the beast did speak. "'Tis I, the lonely Wildred, and you my meal." Pumat recoiled, reaching into his pouch of plenty. "Though honored I am, friend Wildred, I fear a poor meal would I make for this humble Pumat."
All right, so it gives you an idea of how detailed this story is that he's trying to tell. So now we need to definitely see how some of his folks, decided to try to interact with it. So
So
let's skip
basically,
ahead at least one.
they retell the story as best as they can,
Yeah.
having listened to it. Okay.
Yeah, but they only get to listen to it once.
Yeah, that would be really hard.
A dark, mysterious night in the forest, and Pumat's soul was wandering around, collecting mushrooms, odd mushrooms, poisonous mushrooms, some of them strange mushrooms. And as he was wandering around at night in the forest, he was approached by a hunter wolf of some kind. This wolf had a strange beak in his face.
So you can see it's already devolved a little bit after getting to like two people. And so let's go ahead and kind of get to, by the time it gets to their last person here.
Okay.
Scary night and cold, and Pumat Soul was wandering through the forest. That was a signature Travis Willingham CEO sniff. And he was alone in that dark, cold, snowy now forest when he ran into a wolf that he wasn't expecting. And the wolf said, "Hey," and Pumat said, "Hey, what are you doing here?"
All right, so it clearly devolved. They get the main thoroughfare of the whole thing, but it's just it seems like a delightful thing. And if you were thinking about ways that you can connect with students, I think in a way that still grounds itself in standards, if you really think it out, you could do something like this with your friends.
Post
or
a
your
video.
Friends. You could also just do it with friends.
Yeah, that's true. But no, I see what you're doing there. Like maybe post a video and then have another student pick it up and make a video trying to replicate it. And then you take down that original video and you save it. And then you post the new video for someone else to respond to. And then after maybe 15 iterations, you show the first one, and then you bring them all back and they can see how things have changed or something like that.
Well, it's an interesting hook though.
it.
Like we talk a lot of times about how hard it is to get kids to come into a virtual space with us sometimes. I guarantee you'll have to find out what happened, through the course of all those videos. But
exactly.
Anyway, I was fascinated by it, thought it was really interesting. So
it's a cool idea. Super nerdy, but really cool idea.
Flipgrid would be cool with that.
Flipgrid, yes. No, you're right. You're so right. That's a good idea.
All right, everyone. Well, we are up against time officially.
Got a whole new lesson
sign off. You can find me at the Prof Jones on Twitter.
And I'm at gchant668.
And I'm at Shervett Miller on Twitter.
All right. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you again in our next episode.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.